We're so happy to be here today in community, and we thank you all for coming. We were going to have this at Trinity College Community Child Center, a place near and dear to my heart as I got my start in public policy there as director, where a third of my job was to be public policy as well as caring for the children. I really learned a lot there, and Trinity gives free space to the program, and that allows them to pay the teachers better. And we have to understand that higher ed and other institutions have been a part of holding this field together. So Kyle is going to kick us off as if we were on the Campus Care Playground.
Good morning. I mean, typically my attendees are between the ages of 3 and 5. So please be patient with me. Good morning again. My name is Kyla Sigmund. I am the Executive Director of Trinity College Community Child Center. It's also known as TC4. I want to begin by offering our most sincere thank you to Governor Lamont, Ned Lamont, and Commissioner Beth Bai, the Office of Early Childhood, our dedicated legislators, and tireless advocates across the state. Thank you for believing in the power, the value, and the necessity of early care and education. Yeah. For over 30 years, I have witnessed the lack of recognition and underappreciation that has long plagued our field. Despite the critical role early educators play in shaping the future, we have operated in the shadows, underfunded, undervalued, and often unseen. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic, and in that time of crisis, a light was cast upon our work, not a spotlight, but a beacon. It revealed that we have always known, that early childhood educators are essential, that children and families rely on us, and that a strong foundation in our earliest years needs to be a priority within our communities. Today, with the passage of these bills, we stand at the threshold of transformational change, change that will redefine what is possible for our system. These bills represent more than legislation. They are declaration. Connecticut sees us, values us, and is ready to invest in a system that works for all young children, families, and providers. These bills strengthen Connecticut's workforce and affirm the professionalism of our dedicated early childhood educators. We are beyond grateful. I don't want to cry. And we cannot express how excited and hopeful we are to finally begin building a system that has been desperately needed for decades. One that ensures high quality care and education for our youngest learners. Thank you for helping us make this vision a reality. I now have the privilege to introduce Commissioner Beth Bai. I was pointing at Kyla because she represents all of you who have been doing this work, underfunded, underappreciated. You have been subsidizing the system for decades with your subpar wages, but doing it for the children and families. And Governor Lamont and this legislative team have said, that's not fair. No more. No more. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We are here because hundreds of people went together. This is such an achievement. Parents, providers, advocates, philanthropy, policymakers, the governor's team, the House, the Senate, Team OEC,
people who gave their time and talent to help the collective whole, to help build critical infrastructure for families. When I walked out of the Senate and House after Cece, Marty, Corey, Doug, Kate, and Jen had completed their bill defense and passage, I was greeted by giants. So many parents and providers and advocates who'd worked all day on the floor with children, family child care providers who worked 12 hours a day, came to the Capitol to watch the Senate and the House pass that bill that they had worked for years to craft and pass. Poet Gwendolyn Brooks would call you giants. In her poem, Jane Addams, about people who were working for child welfare in the late 1800s, this is what she said: "I shall tell you a thing about giants that you do not wish to know. Giants look in mirrors and they see nothing at all, but they leave their houses nevertheless. They lurch out of doors to reach you, the other stretchers and strainers. Giants change the world. And I have witnessed child care leaders, providers, and families stretch and strain for this moment, changing lives for thousands of families today and in the future who are currently under great stress. Connecticut is now a model for the nation." It has a blueprint for the early childhood system that addresses what was coined the trilemma, a new word for you all, a trilemma, in childcare, where quality, affordability, and accessibility were at odds. Gwen Morgan made up this term in the 1980s to highlight the inherent trade-off policymakers were constantly making, and same with providers, because when you improve one goal, sometimes it would undermine the other. You add access without money, it undermines teacher pay, things like that. The term is still foundational in early childhood policy discussions today. Gwen Morgan said, "This won't change until there are new structural solutions." So it's still foundational where progress and solutions in this nation have been intermittent and scarce. Under the leadership of Governor Lamont, with the partnership of the Senate and the House in their priority bills, Connecticut has found a structural solution to the trilemma. Affordability for tens of thousands of families in Early Start Connecticut programs who will now receive free or reduced cost child care capped at 7% of income at the most. Accessibility for families using state-of-the-art technology coupled with local on-the-ground planning and outreach to expand early childhood options for families. Quality through enhanced rates for improved salaries coupled with accreditation supports, apprenticeship opportunities, scholarship. Building a top-notch workforce. Ask any parent about the quality of their child's education from infancy through college, and it will be about the teachers and the workforce and the director. So that is what this does. It recognizes that. And there's so much more that others here will describe. The reason we can address all three in this trilemma is a governor's endowment model builds sustainable funding. That was the issue all along. There were always such good intentions, but never the structural funding. The governor and the legislators committed to using surplus net funds now and in the future. That's a Connecticut innovation, and as the fund grows, more communities and more families will have access to Early Start Connecticut. Governor, your leadership since taking office on child care has been extraordinary. Over the past 6 years, Connecticut has made great strides in improving access to child care, adding 4,000 state-funded spaces and 8,000 Care for Kids spaces. Funding has increased from $118 million in the early childhood line to $148 million. Care for Kids funding has increased from $99 million to $263 million. Those of you I've known many of you for decades, when I would speak at this podium, at press conferences here, the Senator Looney and others in the past, I would always say, Talk is cheap. Show me the money. Governor Lamont, you showed us the money. Now, a few things about the future that the endowment will do. It's going to accelerate that progress for families as Early Start expands. It will support a professional workforce and free up Care for Kids dollars to support more families. Projections are that by 2032, this endowment will add 120% to those early childhood totals I just told you about. This will include a more than doubling of the current enrollment by 2032 to 44,000 children served in family child care centers, public schools, through Early Start. This endowment will increase rates by 88% for participating programs who will need to agree to pay teachers on par with public school teachers. That is a huge thing. As parents have access to high-quality child care, because there will be more of it, it will be more affordable, it will help them enter the workforce, stay in the workforce, afford housing, and more. Give that stability that we know supports child development beyond what happens in the child care center. That high-quality early childhood system will prepare children for kindergarten and beyond. The endowment is an investment in Connecticut's future. It has a proven return on investment. 13% on average is the return on investment for high-quality early childhood, according to James Heckman, a Nobel Prize-winning economist. A Connecticut-specific analysis that was where we had the help from social impact partners showed that full funding childcare in Connecticut, fully funding childcare in Connecticut, would have a 7-to-1 benefit to cost ratio across the economy, education, and human services. We have documents available if any of the press want you to show you that breakdown that they did. The treasurer and governor will tell you, is the treasurer here today? The treasurer is going to be a part of this too. We're really grateful for his participation. Treasurer and governor will tell you that that just beats just about any other investment this state could make with surplus funds, and it's a solid investment in the future, betting on Connecticut's people. And the impact of high-quality preschool on the quality of life for families is priceless. It's hard right now for families to live at a time when the economy shifted and pretty much all families need all parents working. But the infrastructure to support that shift just never happened. It was never built. People move to Connecticut because it's known for its quality of life for children and families. This early childhood endowment builds upon that strength. I just have some thank yous now, and I'm going to say ahead of time, Maggie told me not to name particular people. If you're not named, I still love you, and I'm doing my best to capture all the groups. But it's impossible not to talk about the 1,000 mothers of this success. The Blue Ribbon panel put in their time and effort and laid the groundwork. Raise your hand if you were part of that Blue Ribbon panel process. Raise your hand if you participated in a listening session or came to an event or were part of the Blue Ribbon panel input. There we go. That's part of how we're here. A thank you to our parent cabinet who always give us frank advice. A thank you to Child Care for Connecticut's Future, the Early Childhood Alliance, Izzy, Merrill, Eva. Those calls were priceless. Social impact partners, with a special thanks to Jen Gerber, who talked to me every week for years, and Mark Argash and Monisha Gibson. The Connecticut Project, Courtney and Garth, the Funders Collaborative, Mary, Voices for Children, Emily, SEIU, and the family child care providers at large, and directors who've helped keep it real. We'd have a great idea. My staff hate it when I say, I come into work, we have our 8 a.m. meeting, and said, I had an idea. My friend Deb Fliss, who's here, actually pulls a little sticky off of her screen that says Commissioner Management Duty and says, holds it up. But we have ideas and we try to make them come true, but the directors who've helped keep us real and say, nah, not that. I just have to mention some of them. Georgia Goldburn, Monette Ferguson, Alex Schiavone, Karen Lott, Kyla Sigmund. They all come to mind, representing so many here in the audience. And WBDC has been a great partner with us, found in a crisis, but partnering with us still. And then close, I have to just thank the negotiating teams. Senator Looney, your team with Courtney and Chris, and Julia were really amazing with your leadership. In the House, Representative Farrar and Franklin and Representative Chafee, they were challenging. I know the governor and I checked in a couple times, but collaborative. We all knew that we had the same goal in the end, so it was really important. So the final product was worth it. I don't have any quotes or special sayings for the end, just to say thank you, everybody, for all your support. We're here because of all of you. So now I got to find my order of events. So that concludes my comments, and now I get to introduce someone who I've known for years, who's been a tireless champion for family child care providers and now for all child care, Ava Bermuda Zimmerman.
I want to call up Christy Bentima and Maria Reyes to stand with me. Chris, if you can come up, and Maria, if you can stand with me while I make my remarks here. We said this oftentimes in the process of advocating this year, that coalitions make often odd allies, right? And I asked both of them because they are part of the negotiation process, and the business conversation here in Connecticut has never been us against them. It's about what we can accomplish together, and this is perfect proof of what we can accomplish together. With the guidance of Chris's leadership through being CEO of CBIA and the guidance of Maria Reyes' leadership through SEIU CSEA, we've built a coalition that includes labor like AFSCME, CEA, that includes nonprofits like End Hunger Connecticut. We have so many partners here, and like the commissioner mentioned, so many mothers here, that we have to be reminded of how we got here. Our history was so rocky. I remember 13 years ago when I was a new kid on the block starting in early child care, going to see Mark Jaffe speak at the CLC, a symposium, and saying, do you know how much we pay? Do you know how it's on the backs of children? I'm like, wow, child care is really, really doing pretty bad. I had no idea. And as a new kid on the block, I was also reminded by Merrill Gay and others that I've been at this for 20 years, and we have to fix child care. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, 20 years. And now here we are 13 years later, my history, next to warriors and champions who's been at it 20, 30, 40 years. But success doesn't come overnight. Success is a conversation. It's about building history. It's about listening to those voices. When Child Care for Connecticut was created, a vision of Liz Frazier, Izzy Greenberg, Meryl, myself, when we founded it, we were all leaders in our respective rights in early child care in different ways. Parent organizing, provider organizing, community advocacy, and we understood that we were bifurcated. We knew that we couldn't accomplish any success because we all wanted very different things. We were thinking about our own membership. And that moment when COVID hit, we realized, wait a second, the impact on the provider is the same impact of the parent. The impact of the parent is the same impact of the business leader. We are united in the fact that we were all being hurt by COVID and the pandemic and the deficiencies of early child care. But the timing came that we had leaders that understood that. Leaders like Commissioner Bai, leaders like Governor Lamont, leaders like Speaker Ritter, and also Senate President Looney, who finally saw us for who we are and what we needed in our communities. The first time we went to a hearing 4 years ago, the legislative body, when we asked for $700 billion to bail us out, laughed at us, laughed at us in a live hearing, but they're not laughing now. They understood. So we have to honor our history. We have to honor each other because this fight was accomplished with the people behind us and the people who aren't here. There are people who unfortunately did pass away waiting for this victory, and people who are not physically here now because they're working, they're with their children, they're not able to share this victory, but we didn't do it alone. So thank you. The fight is long, but the road was mighty and it was well worth it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
One little correction to my comments, because of all the group to forget as I was looking down the thing, Team OEC has been remarkable. remarkable, remarkable. And many are here today. Deb Fliss and I joined this work when we were both pregnant with our second daughters, who are now more than 30 years old. And Elena Truworthy has been an amazing partner. And I also should mention Maggie Adair, who's been at this for decades, and so many others. Michelle Cook joined us this year and has been helpful. So it has been, the Team OEC has been great. And I'm sorry to I already talked too long. But now I'm going to give it over to Meryl Gay, who's been in this fight for so long. You're such a trusted partner, and you've earned that trust.
Thank you. So I think it was 23 or 24 years ago when I went to a meeting where folks were trying to figure out why so few kids went to preschool in New Britain. And there were all sorts of crazy theories. And I went out and made a phone call and came back in and said, you know, I'm spending more money to send my child to the preschool at CCSU than I would be paying if he was a freshman going to college there? That's bonkers. So for as long as anybody would listen, I've been saying the problem in childcare is there just isn't enough money in the system. Parents who in the 5 years after the birth of their first child are at their very lowest net worth can't possibly pay for the true cost of care. And so what's happened since the beginning? The people who have provided the care, the early educators, are the ones who've subsidized the system through poverty wages. This endowment will finally start to solve that problem. It fundamentally goes at the problem that there hasn't been enough money in the system, and it starts to put the money into the system. It'll start to pay providers what it actually costs to provide quality care, with teachers earning wages comparable to their public school staff, and limit the costs to parents. Those are just enormous steps forward. I have to think that this is probably the most significant piece of early childhood legislation to pass the Connecticut General Assembly in my lifetime. And I hope that we will go on to do even bigger things that will eclipse it, but I am really happy with this victory right now. I want to thank Governor Lamont for coming up with this strategy on how to pay for it, and I'm really happy that we have a little one here to remind us all why we're here. With this little thank you, Governor Lamont t-shirt. Thank you all. This is a great day.
Okay, now it's my great pleasure to introduce my former colleague and such an incredible champion for equity and families in Connecticut, Senator Marty Looney.
Thank you so much, Beth. We all know that Commissioner Bai was a great state senator during her time in the Connecticut General Assembly. We missed her very much when she left, and she's gone on, as we see now, to do other really important work. And this, her work leading up to this bill this year is really historic, and we have to thank her a great deal for her leadership in that. We knew this year could be the year that we could make a breakthrough on early childhood, because all the planets were finally aligned. We had a proposal from the governor that Commissioner Bai was going to advocate and move for. It was a clear highest priority in the state Senate. We made it Senate Bill number 1. It was a House Bill 5003. All of those came together because we had finally, I think, realized the urgency of what we were dealing with. And more we realized that our education system was in many ways missing the critically important first 5 years of life. When you talk to any kindergarten teacher, he or she can tell you whether a child, almost after the first few days, whether that child has been to a quality daycare or preschool program. And those children who are not ready for kindergarten when they get there are greatly at risk for what might happen to them later on. In fact, they are the cohort who become the dispossessed and disengaged, disenfranchised, and disillusioned 16 to 24-year-olds later on that the Dalio Commission and CCM were talking about earlier in the year. So we have to look at the whole spectrum of education from birth through K-12 through college. And we realized finally that ignoring those first 5 years, it would be the equivalent, although not as visible, as saying, okay, we're going to have intensive schooling for kids in grades K through 3, but then we're going to kind of knock off grades 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 and kind of let them be on their own and then kind of bring them back their 9th grade. That's really the equivalent of what we're doing by ignoring birth through 5. That children who come to school not ready to be there become disillusioned quickly. They're aware of their own deficiencies. Within a short period of time, they become discipline problems. Short time after that, they become truancy problems. Short time after that, they may be in contact with the juvenile justice system. And short time after that, they may reach age 16 and they only may be in 9th grade at that point because they've repeated a grade somewhere along the way, and they drop out, and at that point they are not in school, they're not employable, they're not ready for anything productive, and those are the statistics that you see all the time of kids getting into trouble and winding up in the adult criminal system. So we are making a major investment here by creating this trust fund. I want to thank the governor for stepping forward with that proposal, and as you know, it was a high priority for both chambers of the General Assembly with the low-digit bill numbers assigned to it. This is something that will build, that will grow, and is finally, I think, a recognition that those first 5 years are as important, if not more important, than any other 5-year period in a child's education. And so again, I think there's a coalition of people who've been working on this for years. Sometimes it takes a while to get to critical mass and a sense of urgency. But this year we did. Certainly wanted to thank Senator Marr as chair of the Children's Committee, and Senator McCrory, Senator Duff, and I were very grateful for the work that was being done. Our staff, of course, also Courtney Cullinan and Chris Liddy, Julia Familario, and others. This was an effort, and their counterparts in the House. There was a great sense of excitement because we believed this year was the year to get it done, that it wasn't going to be something that was going to get sidetracked or derailed at the end. It had enough momentum to carry all the way through, and it did, and we have, and that's why we're here today to celebrate. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. And now I'm going to introduce someone from the House, and then we'll go back to the Senate. Representative Farrar was a champion for House Bill 5003, and you were a fierce negotiator for child care workers and health care, and I'm really happy to have you with us today.
Good morning, friends. What a joy to look out on this incredible team, but I have to say, all that's in my mind as we're thinking about today and really sending a message is that to all of the families in Connecticut, to all of the early child care providers in Connecticut and educators, to all the businesses in Connecticut, we heard you and we delivered. Now, as Commissioner Bai shared and the good Senate President, this is years in the making, and I think when you look at the outcome, it shows that we are looking at everyone who needs care, everyone who needs the support, everyone who needs the investment to make our child care system work. And that's why when I think we look at what between Senate Bill 1, House Bill 5003, and the bond bill we really delivered is that we are delivering relief to families. As you heard, this is about making sure that families that receive care for their kids in state-funded programs, if they make $100,000 or less, their costs are zero. If they make over $100,000, their costs will not exceed 7% of their income. That is true relief to the families of Connecticut. And secondly, if you look at what was so eloquently shared, the need to attract and retain our early childhood educators. primarily women of color across our state. These bills not only increase their pay, but also make sure that they have access to a health insurance subsidy so that they can care for themselves and their loved ones. And finally, just like our K-12 schools, we want to make sure that every single childcare facility is of high quality. And that's why we are dedicating multi-year funding through the bond bill to make sure that there is money for facilities to upgrade their locations and also to create those new facilities that are so dire needed in our childcare deserts. Now, this was years in the making, as you heard, but I would say as a legislator, I only view this as, maybe the biggest step we took, but it's going to require our continued vigilance. And I want to make sure you have my commitment and the commitment of so many of us in the legislature that will not stop, with this bill, with this marker in establishing this endowment. And I think when we speak to how Connecticut is truly a national model, I just have a key example. I actually heard while I was on the House floor bringing out this bill on a Saturday, I heard from a legislative colleague in Wisconsin who was actually following the news of this work we were doing. And he said so clearly that he was talking to his fellow legislative colleagues who were quite jealous, right, of what we had achieved in Connecticut. And when I said to him, well, clearly happy to work with you, happy to make sure that this is something you all can take on, he said, no, we are just all considering moving to Connecticut. Not only is this pivotal for our families, our businesses, our providers that are here, but just like when we took this tremendous step in our state to pass paid family medical leave, this step of establishing this endowment and truly committing the investment in early childhood doesn't just support our families here, but truly makes Connecticut attractive to so many across this country who see that we are a shining light of supporting families and children. So thank you to everyone here, but a special thanks to our Speaker Ritter for his leadership and support, to my colleague, as you'll hear from, Rep. Paris with the Children's Committee, Rep. Leeper with the Education Committee, my colleagues who worked closely on this bill, Rep. Chafee, Rep. McGee, and we are not done. And I want to make sure more than anything that this is the first step in that true investment that our children and families and businesses deserve. Thank you so much.
Now I'm going to call up the co-chairs of the Children's Committee, Senator Marr and Representative Paris.
God, you're going to make me cry again.
We did cry that.
All of you in this room, all of the people who aren't able to be with us today, you are all the reasons why we are here. Because every single day you show up for our children, you show up to create the next generations, to teach, to help them learn. Within the past year, I had my first grandchild, and I sat holding him, and I'm a mom, I have 3 kids. I thought I knew what being a parent was, but when you see a child from a different perspective, as you all see them every single day, and you see their brain development, because that's the work you are doing with them. You see them reach out, you see them pick up something for the first time. You see all that, and to have you supported, to have heard your stories, the story of your grandmother, how important that was and how that drove you in this work. The mom who came up to me and said, now, because we increased the number of children in childcare, a mom can have her child in the childcare home. The things that we have done, the ripple effect of this legislation, with thanks to our leadership, with thanks to Senator Looney, to Julia Famularo and Chris Liddy as they did this, to Beth Bai. You know all the names. But these are the things that are going to be supported. All of our children's growth and development will be supported in the years ahead, especially birth to 5, which is incredible, the birth to 5 piece. So on Saturday, as it was coming through the House, I was sitting there watching it on the screen, and I couldn't stop crying. The tears just kept rolling down my face, and everybody's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, this is the most transformational thing we have done in Connecticut in years, and it is going to make a difference across our entire country, because we are a leader in taking care of our children. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you. Well, what a day for children, huh? And Governor, I know that you have a lot of stiff competition with your colleagues who are also governors across the country, but you can tell Wes Moore, and you can tell Gavin Newsom, and you can tell all the other governors, checkmate. You did it. Congratulations, Governor. And what people don't realize is how important this is. The day I was endorsed by Governor Lamont during my first run for the legislature, he came to a child care center to do the endorsement on a playground, and look at where we've come since 2021. I echo all of the sentiments of my co-chair and all of the folks who have come before us, certainly to our leadership and to our good co-chairs in education. But I just want to take a moment to acknowledge how much of a powerful step this is for working families. This is one less bill that they have to worry about that's going to be on their kitchen tables every night. For the marginalized communities in which we always say that we're representing and trying to take on their voices. And most importantly, for the women of the state of Connecticut. Yeah. This is for you. And we remind people that caring for a child should never be an economic barrier. It's a shared societal responsibility that we all have, regardless of party and creed and demographic. We all share this responsibility for every child in the state, despite who they are and despite where they live. And it is our foundational investment for our future. This package recognizes all of those things. It recognizes that raising a child isn't a personal challenge, it's a public good. It's a public good that this investment is going to create dividends for years and years to come. But more importantly, what this is doing for communities who have shouldered the weight of a broken system for generations, we are saying that this bill, that this package is a shift to the weight that is investing in care and equity and opportunity, and most importantly, for women of color, for black and brown women who have bared the burden of this for so long. And lastly, I just have to say, and I've always said it, and I know people are sick of me saying it, if this were a male-dominated field, we would not be here today. But isn't it a good thing that this doesn't have to be a male-dominated field, that we can be here today and that we can invest in future generations for children? So for all the children to come, for all the families in our state, for equity becoming a reality, and most important, for us creating a blueprint for future generations, congratulations and well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey and Cece. I'm now going to invite up Senator McCrory to say a few words.
You don't say everything.
There you go. You can do something.
You know, real quickly, I've been here 20 years,
This is the largest press conference I've ever been to. That's why. Wow. It's amazing. Well, it feel like we just won the Super Bowl. And I want to thank Coach, thanks for steering us in the right direction. And teammates, thanks for getting us across the finish line. I think Marty hit it on the nail, hit it on the head. This is a beginning. When you talk about education, it starts from birth to 5. This, by having quality early childhood health care, it kind of levels the playing field for all our children in the state of Connecticut once they introduce themselves to our public school system. I want to thank everyone for turning out. I want to thank everyone for pushing us and making us do something that should have been done for a long time. Now we have an industry where we want to get people going into. We want our young people to be a part of, and we got to create opportunities for our young folks to say, this is a field that we need you most. We need you just as important as we need high school teachers and middle school teachers. Education starts at the beginning of life, and now we have people who have an industry where they can make good money. They can make sure that children are safe in environments that are comfortable and conducive to learning. Thank you all for pushing us. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Beth. For 20 years you've been at this, and we found you 20 years is a labor of love, but we got across the finish line. I thank every last one of you for pushing us. And I tell you, Governor, we will have a return on our investment. It already started right now, because everyone right now is excited about what we're doing across this country. We are the leaders in early childhood education, and everyone will model us after us. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for being part of it. I am so excited. Appreciate it.
At OEC, we have a parent cabinet that has really been an incredible advisory group, and led by Elena and Shanae getting us going, and Lorna, who's here. So I'm going to introduce our OEC Parent Cabinet Region 3 Representative Christina Pace. Welcome, Christina.
Hello, my name is Christina Pace. I'm from Region 3 in Colchester, Connecticut. I'm a single mom of 2 girls, ages 3.5 and 10 months, so I know how important access to early childcare is, as well as how difficult it can be to obtain it. With my oldest, it took over a year of a wait list to get her into the first program, and there's not many to choose from. Thankfully, I learned about the school readiness program, which is now Early Start, so she was able to get into a preschool program in our public school. Another piece of the endowment I'm excited for is the pay for child care providers. It means a lot to me because my mom was a child care provider for 15 years, so I saw firsthand how the wages did not go with the cost of living. She often had the lesson plan on her own time, pay for supplies on her own, so I'm excited for the next generation of preschool teachers to not have that same struggle to pay their own bills. As far as the parent cabinet, I've been really excited to learn what's going on at the state level and being able to share feedback from my region and to actually feel heard. It's made a huge difference already. I'm really excited for the one point of entry portal, so that way providers and parents can look up what resources are in the community, and I work as a Family Resource Center director, so I'm going to be able to share that with the families I work with and get them resources in a quick place that has everything they can apply for right there. Overall, I'm very thankful to live in Connecticut and to have a governor that fights for families to have access to safe and affordable child care for all.
Now, before I introduce the governor, I want to have all of you help him know how we're feeling today. It's require you to stand up. Get ready. I know there are enough people in this room to carry this tune. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it. Okay, you can sit down. I was going to stomp my feet and shout hooray, but sit down, sit down. I have to give the governor something Before I introduce him, Governor, we have these hats here. I'm just going to put a couple of letters here. This is what the governor did. He fixed child care. It's such a pleasure to introduce Governor Lamont, and as I introduced him, I'm going to remind him I was out to breakfast with my granddaughter last fall, and the phone rang on a Saturday morning, and I picked up the phone, and he said, "Hey Beth, if we had put the surplus into a fund to help fund childcare, we'd have $1 billion now. That would be a good start." And then we talked a little, and then he said, "Have fun with that." And we got a lot of guidance from you all and from you, Governor, back and forth as we planned this. But this really was started with your idea. And there's just not enough words to say how much this group appreciates your leadership and commitment to this issue. So many people who didn't feel seen or heard, who you have seen and heard. And anyone that knows the governor knows his secret power is listening. And you heard us, and you heard the people and the businesses of Connecticut. So thank you for your leadership.
Well, Doug said this is the biggest press conference he's ever been, but Beth, I think this is the happiest press conference I've ever been to. And I think it's big and it's happy, Marty, because it's probably the most important initiative we've taken in many a year. And it's going to make an enormous difference in people's lives. And let me tell you a little bit about my journey. You know, because Beth channeled her inner Jerry Maguire, show me the money. I hear that a lot, and I'll tell you why I was convinced you had me at hello, if you remember that one. You know, early days of COVID, we were desperate to keep our hospitals open. And all of a sudden I heard from nurses and docs, we cannot go to the hospital to take care of those folks most in need unless we have a place for our kids can go where they can be safe. And all of a sudden you realize how vital quality early childhood is for our economy going forward. I think that's what CBIA recognizes every day. I heard all the time from parents, they say, I can't afford to go to work because I can't afford childcare for my kids. And that was a reminder of what we had to do. I was reminded during COVID and afterwards where I saw each and every one of you showing up every day, essential workers. We cheered you as heroes. We thanked you for what you did. And then on top of that, everybody reminds me that those first few years of life are the most important educational years of a kid's life. And why are those teachers paid so much less than everybody else? And it was a reminder of what we had to do and what we had to do together. I think probably most impactful for me, because Beth has always taken me to early childhood, and I go to schools and kindergarten, and I think Marty mentioned this, that kindergarten teacher who tells you, I can always tell a kid who comes into my class from a quality early childhood education. I know what a difference it makes. I know what that extra reading means for them. I know what that early detection means to help them get on track. I know what that means in terms of their future. And if this is going to be a state of affordability and opportunity, it starts right there at the very beginning of life. Paid family and medical leave, take care of those kids, get them into quality early childhood education, and make sure they can go as far as their dreams will take them. That's what this is all about. I want to thank each and every one of you. I don't know, fixed child care is just not big enough. We're going to expand this, we're going to grow this, and make this an opportunity for each and every one of our kids. Thanks, guys.
My guess is we have some questions from the press.
Commissioner, this question is for yourself. What's the average pay for daycare workers
That's a great question. So right now it's about $36,000 a year for a child care teacher in Connecticut. That's full day, full year, according to Indeed. I know that might not, I'm just telling you my source. It wasn't. But this would start in July 1st, 2027, where programs that are funded as early start programs in an RFP that happens in 2027 for state fiscal year 28, to apply, you have to agree. If you take the 80% more dollars, you will pay teachers on par with public school teachers, and we have a narrow cost analysis. It has a sort of a salary scale that programs will be required to follow.
And is that around the time that families can expect
Yes, same. Starting July 1st, 2027, we will expand, and it will be a significant expansion of seats. So doubling of the number of spaces that are funded in Early Start Connecticut.
Just through the ramp up, you mentioned 2032 is the milestone. So what's going to happen between July 1 of 27 and 2032?
In terms of children served?
Well, in terms of income, children's access.
Yep. Yes. So what will happen in starting July 1st is because the endowment was funded and we can use 12%, we will expand by at least 2,000 to 3,000 children. More children will have access to this, to Early Start Connecticut, which is the state subsidized system where parents don't pay more than 10% at this time. So that happens this year. The rates go up 4 to 6% each year for the next 2 years. The big jump in rates comes in 2027. So the requirements, until we pay a rate that will support the wages in July 1st, 2027, there will not be the requirement about wages. But my experience with child care directors like Kyla is they want to pay their teachers more, so as the rates go up, they will do that. And then in 2027 will be the hard requirement about on par, bachelor level teachers on par with public school teachers. Go ahead, Ken. You look like, oh, you're good? Okay, that's it. All right.